Ever since I was 13 years old, I always wanted to live abroad. Ever since I was little, I always had this feeling that the country that was assigned to me at my birth didn't really match the person I was underneath the surface, and as the years were going by, I just began to feel more and more isolated and different, and just like I didn't really belong to the country that I was supposed to call my home. I felt like until I was living in the country I was born into, I couldn't really become my ideal self. I felt limited by my home country's opportunities, language, culture, laws, even currency. And so when the opportunity presented itself to me to start working abroad as a model, I immediately said yes. And moving abroad has completely changed my life. If you're someone who is currently feeling out of place, or you just know deep down that you were meant for something else and that you're supposed to live in another place on this earth, keep watching, because in this video I am going to share with you some of the psychological benefits moving abroad has on your life in order to find out whether or not moving abroad is really for you. Because if it's not, then let's not even waste any time. Let's go! If you want to change your life, change your environment. When we are very used to residing in a certain environment for a very, very long time, if we want to make changes in our lives, it's really, really hard to become someone new. Let me give you an example. Think back to the time in your life where you first moved out of your parents' place. Maybe you were going to college, maybe you were moving in with your significant other, maybe you were just moving to another city for work. Even though you already moved out, I can guarantee you 100% that even to this day, every single time you go back to your parents' place, especially if it's the house that you actually grew up in, you immediately change back to the person that you were when you were still living with your parents. Even if you're an adult now, no matter how old are you. I noticed this while visiting back to Hungary a couple of years ago, that no matter how long I've been away from my parents' house, every single time I go back to Hungary to spend time at my mom's house or my dad's house, I immediately change back into an 18-year-old high school student who has really, really bad sleeping habits and who eats like shit. According to environmental psychology, the environmental factors that we were born in and that we live in play a very important role in shaping our behaviors, attitudes, and perceptions about life. From how we interact with other people, such as social environment, to our values, belief systems, the environment that we spend most of our time in plays a huge role in who we become as people. This is why, for example, some financial gurus tell you that if you want to become rich, you have to go where rich people are. And they don't mean it like, oh, you have to have the same money as rich people in order to become one of them. But you need to go and spend time in the environment where rich people are. So, for example, there are financial gurus who tell you that, oh, instead of going to Starbucks for a coffee, you can go to an expensive hotel for the same coffee just to be able to spend time in the same environment as rich people. Unconsciously, you start to pick up on their behavior, you start to see how rich people act, and you can just soak in that rich people aura. And to be honest, this was my main issue with living in my home country. None of the people who were in my environment in my home country were people that I wanted to be like. None of the people who were in my environment in my home country were doing the things that I wanted to do, that I dreamed of doing. And so I had to change the environment I was in. One of the hardest truths that I ever learned in my entire life, I learned from living abroad. And that hard truth is that at the end of the day, no matter where you go, the only person who is going to be there for you is you. The only person who can be there no matter what with you is yourself. And that teaches you some real, solid, self-reliance skills. I feel like sometimes when we spend way too much time in our comfort zones, we can get very lazy and we start to become too dependent on other people. And I'm certainly guilty of this too, as long as I can call my dad, my mom, my sister to help me take care of something that I'm scared to do. Like if it's something administrational or if it's something that's really annoying to do, as long as there's someone that I can call for help, I'm gonna call them for help. But when I don't know anybody else in the country, when I'm living abroad on my own and the only person I can ask for help is me, then it's something different. When I was younger, I used to be very, very dependent on other people, and especially my family. I'm the youngest child. I have an older sister. When I was growing up, my older sister, like, she literally did everything for me. She was always the one who was in the middle of the family drama. Like, she was always kind of like protecting me. I was always just like kind of like the second young child who was always like protected from everything. And I think I didn't realize this until I was a bit older, but it didn't only do a lot of damage to her, but it also did a lot of damage to me, because when I started to live abroad on my own, it was really hard at first to not have anyone to rely on, because I was just so used to always having people around me that I can ask for help. And I think it's the same for a lot of people. As long as we have people around us who can just always clean up our mess, who can just always take care of the things we don't want to take care of. Like, as long as you can call your mom for something, as long as you can call your best friends to do something for you, you can just always move back to your parents' house if things don't work out. You don't know what real responsibility is like. And without having really big responsibilities and challenges in life, we can't progress. Living abroad completely on my own for 6 years was the biggest emotional, mental, and financial challenge that I ever had to face in my life. It's a lot, and it's a lot of responsibility, and it does something for you. What it does is it makes you so self-reliant and so self-sufficient and so self-confident, and you just start trusting yourself so much more once you know that even if things are hard and challenging and you have a lot of responsibilities to deal with, you can still do it because you got you. You see, when I used to live back in my home country, I always thought that I was this kind of person. This kind of person who liked doing this kind of things, that I wanted to hang out with these kind of people, and that these were my hobbies, that's what I wanted to be. And I kind of just labeled myself with a certain identity that was really tied into where I lived. But when I actually changed my environment and moved abroad, things have completely changed, and I really started to question my identity and the person I was. When I was living back in my home country, I was very, very introverted. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I found it really hard to like fit in with others, and I kind of just felt misunderstood. So I just spent most of my time by myself, just staying at home, watching anime and writing my fashion blog. For like 18 years, I had this idea about myself that, I'm just a geek, loser, loner, introverted, the one who has no friends, that I don't like going out, I don't like to go to big crowds. And I really thought that for a long time. I thought for a long time that I was this person, and I made peace with that. Little did I know that this loser, introverted geek wasn't that introverted at all. She was just in a wrong environment. When I started working abroad for the first time in Hong Kong, actually, I ended up in a very international environment with a lot of people of my age who were very extroverted and outgoing. I think it was like the universe's sign to me, or like work to me, to like put me together with people who are really extroverted and outgoing, just in order for me to go out and actually socialize with people. But the roommates that I had were like, all of them, the girls were like crazy outgoing, crazy like party girls. They always wanted to go out, and after spending a couple of months with them, I also started to go out more with them, spend more time with people, and I actually realized that I really like going out and spending time with people too. But I never would have discovered that layer of my identity without putting myself in a different environment with different people from different countries. I think that once you move away from the person that you're so used to being, and you put yourself into a new environment with new people who bring out different aspects of yourself, you can really see the different layers of your identity. I believe that our identities are kind of like an onion. Like there's a lot of layer to them, and some of the layers are really deeply hidden. But just because they're hidden, it doesn't mean they're not there. But you actually have to put yourself in a different environment and with different people in order to bring out some of the layers of your identity of you. Another thing I really like about moving abroad is that it completely fucks up all of your belief systems. You see, the things that we believe in are just the result of societal programming, the things school teaches us, what our parents teach us, but just because we learned something when we were young, it doesn't mean it's true. Moving abroad forces you to be open-minded. You have to be open-minded in order to move abroad, otherwise you're not gonna survive in another culture with other people who don't think the same way as you. Like, imagine, I'm from Hungary, right? In Hungary, eating together and dining with other people is not that big of a deal. You normally eat dinner for like 1 or 2 hours, but never longer than that. Imagine what happens when I move to France, where in France, eating together and dining with people is a big deal, and it takes extremely long. Imagine what happens if I get invited over to dinner in France, and after an hour of eating, I stand up and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry guys, this is taking way too long, I cannot do this anymore, I don't have the time, this is not how we do things in Hungary. Just imagine how people would react. And to be honest, I do know a lot of foreigners here who stick to the things they know. There are a lot of foreigners here who only go to restaurants from their home country. There are a lot of foreigners here who only want to make friends with expats from their home country, who only want to talk in their home language. But seriously, what's the point of living abroad if you're just going to keep doing the things that you used to do when you were still living in your home country? Like, don't even move abroad in that case. In my opinion, like, if you already decided to move abroad, you actually have to try to understand how people think in your new country and really try to question the things you believe in, because sometimes the things you believe in that you learned back in your home country are really not that great. So if you just want to stay in your bubble and never learn anything new and never question anything you believe and never question maybe some mistakes even that you did in the past because you didn't know better, then don't move abroad, okay? But if you want to grow and evolve and learn new things about life and learn how people live in different countries, then moving abroad might just be the thing for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And if you want to learn more about some of the biggest challenges I faced as a foreigner living abroad, make sure to watch this video next.